relax, and keep your eyes to the skies.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live from the S4 headquarters here in the heart of the Cascade Mountains of Washington State, in our studio in Cape Horn, Concrete, Washington. So tonight, it's the 18th of October. It's our Halloween Roundtable, our favorite show of the month, Roundtables. So it's here in our studio. We got the crew of S4, Cole and Kayla, and myself, Barry Gaunt from Into the Fire, and Joe Algier, our California contact and master of pointy sticks. How are we all doing tonight?
We are outrageous.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're keeping the theme Halloween tonight. And let's see, did we have an announcement? No.
What?
Sure.
Okay.
Announce it.
So actually, we do have an announcement. Our first new show for the local listeners is, and actually anyone can listen on KSVU 90.1 FM. It's ksvu.org. Every Wednesday from, I want to say, 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific time, you will hear Cole and I with Upriver Counter Chaos.
Listen for the promo at the break of the first hour.
Yeah, we'll play our promo for the new show. It is all things public safety, homeland security oriented, and disaster preparedness, seasonal issues, things of that nature. So it's not paranormal, but it's still stuff that y'all can take away from them.
It's also partly me telling you, if you come into my yard, I'll shoot you.
Pretty much. Pretty
There
much.
you go.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Home security.
It's important stuff to know.
Unless you're bringing candy, then come on in.
Okay. Well, that works too. You better x-ray the candy, though.
Great, we're gonna die.
But,
Halloween over there.
A lot of things people don't think about is like we were talking about before the show was human trafficking, which is getting bad. IEDs and terrorism, things of that nature, also getting bad. But it's all issues that the public need to be aware of.
I just want to say, terrorism
What?
has always been bad.
Oh yeah, but it's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse on our soil.
Yes.
That's the point. Domestic terrorism is a real thing. It's getting worse. Anyway, moving on to paranormal. Yes.
Woo-hoo.
Joe, what's your first question for the Halloween Roundtable?
Well, do you want to start off kind of light, or do you want to go deep into the woo right off the bat?
Let's get woo-woo.
Hey, let's go into the woo right off the bat.
All right, October 31st, the Halloween, there's going to be a hunter's moon. That's the first full moon after the harvest. Now, do you think that the veil is thinner on All Hallows Eve, or do you think that's just an old Druid wives' tale?
Druid wives' tale.
Wives'
completely.
tale.
And honestly, don't believe
missed
that
it.
the veil thins or thickens.
No.
I believe it completely has to do with the amount of energy people exert, or spirits exert, to go through it.
And I'm with you on that. I don't think there is so much a veil that thickens and thins. If that was the case, June 18th is supposed to be another one. And that's Midsummer. So, if that was the case, you would see just as much spirit activity then as you would at Halloween if there was a thinning veil. That's where I'm at with that. And
But you have all these cultures from all over the world that they all pick the same date to celebrate the date. I mean, like down in Mexico, people aren't afraid of Halloween. They celebrate it because that's when their ancestors come up and party with them.
Absolutely.
Same thing in the
But
Philippines.
you got to remember, you got to look at the season. This is dark. It's dreary. It's this is when the frost starts coming in. The days start getting shorter. It's just a nasty season when it comes to not environment. What am I thinking? Climate. So look at it that way, because you have to look at the hemispheres. Ireland is the same hemisphere as we are when it comes to winter versus summer. You also have to look at, Cole hit it pretty good with everyone's anticipating the spirits. Everyone's anticipating. This is where all the horror movies come out. Everyone starts watching horror movies and scaring themselves and telling ghost stories to the kids. And yeah, you're pushing an expectant energy out that is going to bring in more activity. Now, when you're looking at paranormal cases, again, I've said this before every year at this time, when you're handling paranormal cases, we never saw a rise and fall when it came to cases. Our caseload stayed the same year round. So I would think if there was a thinning veil, we'd see a spike. You know what I mean? But we didn't. We've tested that theory. What do you think, Barry?
Well, guys, I got to go on the other side of you guys. I definitely think there's a veil thinning. And it always starts in, kind of like right after September 23rd, somewhere right in there after the first time. And it starts to get thinner and thinner and thinner all the way till through probably the first week of November. And as it keeps going, I've seen more and more paranormal activity just keep growing and growing until it gets to the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd. And then it dies down. You get different types of things. And working at Octagon Hall and being in the hall during that time, it's kind of amazing because it looks like the veil thins and they get closer, and then they are definitely part of it because you get more different types of spirits that you are normally not used to talking to that are always there. They communicate more. We've seen more full body apparitions during that time. It's been crazy kind of stuff. And each week that we do our novice hunts as a fundraiser for Octagon Hall during that time. And it's our yearly fundraiser. And we do them Fridays and Saturday nights. And the first two weekends get pretty active. And then the second weekend, it's a little bit more active. And the third weekend, it's more. And the fourth is more. And this year that we've got 5 weekends. So I don't know what's going to happen. And we had the harvest moon on the 1st of October. And now we have what we call the blue moon, which is the second
Hunter's moon.
Yeah, the Hunter's moon, which will be on the 31st. And that's kind of a rarity. And I think it definitely has an energy to it that definitely brings things more out about it. And as Joe mentioned with the previous histories, and it is the time when spirits that veil lessons, supposedly it's the day that the gates of heaven open up and all can come back to talk and counsel their family or to do anything like that. But I think it's also a time when spirits can be a little bit more rowdy because, man, we have seen stuff in the last 10 years. I have seen things during Halloween that I don't see any other time of the year. I mean, no matter what solstice it is, no matter what time it is, you got 4 of them. You got 4 of them a year, or so. It's just crazy. I mean, it's crazy during Halloween, and I definitely think that veil switches because history just proves itself to me every year. It just proves it. I'm like going, oh no, what are we going to see this year? Because I've seen some real crazy things.
So with that, let me ask you this: do you see a spike around between June 18th and 21st?
It's funny. There are certain times that they do spike up, and it's odd. There are certain things that happen, say at the hall, for instance. there is a day or two that is more active during that period of time. There's more times in March that is that way, May, and you know the historical times. It's like kind of going in 1861 on February 13th at Octagon Hall. 9,000 Confederate soldiers arrived there. Most of them were from a battle in Bowling Green, 20 miles north. It wasn't really a battle; it was just shelling. And at that location, they had so many wounded, and they just had so much blood and amputations and everything else, and buried bones and bodies in mass pits and mass graves there during that time. That when that season comes up, it's very, very heavy. And then in August, there's something that goes on in August there. I don't know what it is, but it's you can just mark your clock. You can sit back and go, yeah, well, that's August. We're going to have some really some strange things. And then certain birthdays.
Is it August 1st?
It starts right about August 1st. Yeah.
So August 1st, if you want to go off this theory, August 1st is Lammas.
Yeah.
September 21st, 22nd is Mabon. These are all pagan holidays.
Yes.
So if you want to center it around that, I'd be curious if you see a spike on those specific dates.
And the funny thing about it is that even Halloween is a pagan religion. And
absolutely.
Some people say that it was demonized by the church, but which it could have been. But it's been around for a long time. Most of all the stuff that we come back as through has been taken through pagans and changed in some manner or another.
Yeah. Yeah, October 31st is Samhain.
Samhain, exactly.
So a lot of people say, no, it's Samhain. No, it's pronounced Samhain.
Exactly.
But yeah, absolutely. I'd be curious if you see a paranormal spike on those specific dates, and then of course,
I'm going to tell you right now.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you on October 31st. I have seen some of the weirdest things that you could ever imagine happen in a haunted location from being there. And to the point of actually seeing candles lit that were not lit and dripping wax, and then to another area where a candle was not in, and it lit with no candle in it and burnt, and wax fell on the floor. I kid you not. We have it on video. I mean, it is just that incredible. That's the kind of stuff that we've seen. I mean, after we closed up after midnight at 3 o'clock in the morning on the 31st, we were there on the 30th, and the 31st was the next day, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, a candle lit all by itself. I mean,
that's awesome.
It is awesome. It is awesome.
For newbies, that would freak them out and they'd run out of the house. But for people like us, we go, awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we got one.
How are you doing? You want some coffee? Yeah.
Okay. Hey, okay, so I'm going to give you guys my little weird tidbit here on the thinning of the veil and everything there. I don't think there is a veil. I think it is the electromagnetic field of the Earth. I think when we have a full moon, that the pull of the moon on the electromagnetic field would be what I would consider a thinning of the veil. We have a lot of things that happen around that time of the year, and when we're talking about different years and different phases and everything, the times that you're talking about are when the moon and the Earth are in phase with each other. Mm-hmm. So I really don't think it's a veil per se, more of the electromagnetic.
And that would be a good scientific explanation of what a veil is. I mean,
true, it
just
would
saying.
be.
And I also believe that that's why certain areas have so much more spirit activity and things like that, is because when a person dies, that electric pulse that's in all of us has to go somewhere. So when a large group of people die in an area, it's full of electricity.
Good point. Good point. And
I'm just thinking about the candles that are lighting themselves. I think that might be the ghosts or the spirits' way of saying, look, we don't like it when ghost hunters are in the dark either.
right?
They're just helping you out.
You guys forgot the flashlight. So sorry that we drained your batteries. Here you go. Yep, there you go.
Yeah,
Candlelight.
exactly. Let's give you a little light.
Yep.
We've seen some pretty amazing stuff with that. But, you're right about that magnetic force. But also, if you go back a long time ago, they talk about that man was veiled from seeing certain things. And I think that as you experience something, that veil kind of loosens at the same time. There are people that are so... they may want to see something so bad they can't see it, but they can't get to the reality of it. They can't get their mind to it. They just don't deal with it. So I think there's something to do with the veil, but I can actually understand the magnetic pull that both the moon has and the earth has, along with its frequency, because it is odd. And right now, I don't know if you guys have been looking around at the topography of the grounds, but I mean, it looks like it's changing rapidly. Anybody else seen that?
Yes, definitely.
The topography's changing?
Yes.
We blame it on 2020. That just, yeah.
I'm just blaming everything this year on it being 2020.
I am. I mean, happy Halloween 2020. I can't wait till we have Jason walking around in the next 2 weeks.
Who was
I think
it?
the next thing for 2020 is that there's going to be a coronal mass ejection heading toward the Earth. Everyone's going to be freaking out and worried about the electrical system, but when it hits, it doesn't mess with our electricity. What it does is it drops the veil completely, and everybody can see the spirits.
Perfect. No, you know what?
And then here come the aliens right behind it.
Right behind the coronal mass ejection.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, you got the alien invasion.
I'm going to take a vacation to bone up a little bit and they get rested up because we're going to be busy.
Everybody will forget.
Ghostbusters.
Everybody will forget the election.
Would that be such
election?
a bad thing?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. It ain't the humans you got to worry about.
No, you know that coronal mass ejection is kind of scary, though, because we are in that window where it could potentially happen at any given time now, so...
Right?
Yay! Thanks, Joe.
Well, the last big one they had was the Carrington event. It was back in, I think it was 1860s.
Yes.
And when it hit, it wiped out all the telegraph lines. It fried them all, and it even bent railroad tracks. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, it was
Now, there was
insane.
no infrastructure like we have now with everything relies on electricity. So if we had one of those again, my pointy sticks are going to be king, man.
Yep.
Well, not only that, but
yeah.
if you think about what our structures are made out of and what railroad tracks are made out of, and if it can bend a railroad track, we are going to have some massive structural issues. That's for sure.
So, Barry, what's your first question tonight?
My first question for tonight will be, if we all assume the same thing about the veil up and everything else, which we don't, but I do you think that negative energy has more power on that day?
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you on that one, and that kind of ties into my question, which I'll ask later. But yeah, and that goes with, right now you've got more people watching horror movies. I'll keep it light in the beginning here, but right now you've got all these people watching Halloween. They're watching Friday the 13th. They're watching all the old horror movies, and they're scaring themselves. Some of them are laughing, but but and they're expecting the spirits, they're expecting the ghosts, they're expecting, especially in 2020, but they're expecting Halloween. So yeah, and that's not so much negative energy as much as it is fear, which goes together. Now, the negative energy, you've got so much hatred, so much, you can't even ask a question on Facebook without getting attacked by about 11 billion different people, along with you ask a simple question, you get attacked.
Oh, Eric took my answer.
So, this year...
So much hate and so much fear of the COVID right now this year.
That too.
Man, if there was a veil and if that drops it, there ain't no veil anymore.
I don't want to think about it. That would be terrifying, actually, at this point. No, thank you.
Going off that concept, I don't see there being a veil. If there was one.
Yeah.
If it's affected by negativity. Because this has been the year of hatred.
Oh, yes and no. And I'm going to say no on that too, though, because it might be hatred on a mass scale, but there's a lot more communities coming together. There's a lot more neighbors helping neighbors than
you got to
before.
Look bigger scale, though.
That's what I'm saying. So, on a global scale, there's negativity, but I think that there's enough small acts of kindness, small acts of good, that it's evening out just like it would any other time.
I think there are acts of good by certain people. All right. And I think it helps. Thank God for that. But, I think for sure
give me a beer.
That, I don't even think we have to even dress up this year. We can just wear a darn COVID mask and scare the heck out of people, because we're taking the personality off of people. People come and say hi to me and they know me. And I'm like going, I can't even see your face. I'm sorry, but I don't even know who the hell you are.
I want a plague mask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the long.
You want one of the creepy bird masks?
Last week they had one of those plague masks with the big long beak on it.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
Those are freaky.
But I can get on board with the concept of the veil being an electromagnetic field, because that puts a name to it. Without just saying, hey, the veil's thinning. No, the electromagnetic field is thinning.
Right.
But, again, with so much, this year's just been the year that everybody wants to forget, literally. Where's the veil?
Yeah, and I think that with all the hatred and everything else, it gives the more of the energy toward the negative, where they can step in and affect people's lives a lot different. And if people don't understand, a negative attack is the best negative attack is the subtle ones, where it affects your health and then starts weeding your friends apart, and then starts attacking your automobile, your finances, everything else. And then it goes from that to your husband, your relationships, your friendships. And if it is a real nasty one, it can go through paranormal teams. It can go through other people that are around you, and it's just one of those type of things, and it builds the strength. And I think there's a lot of strength that's given in this year from all the negativity.
Yeah.
I want to address something. This is not the year of hate. There is no more hate in this world right now than there has been any other year. I'm sorry. This is the year of negativity. That's true. And the problem is, with everything else going on, it affects us so greatly that the hatred just seems more real. But me and Kayla just watched a movie, not last night, the other night, though. The 7.
Oh, the Chicago 7 trials?
Yes.
Okay.
The trial of the Chicago 7.
I was thinking of the
really
Magnificent Seven.
No, it's a movie about the Chicago riot that happened during the Vietnam War.
Right.
And the 7 people who were tried in that, and how they were treated by the judge and by the people around them. Even though, to be honest, the black guy who was in that wasn't even at the riot.
Well, no, you bring up a good point that you just have me thinking. It might seem like it because more and more people are stuck at home.
Yeah.
More and more people this year have been stuck on the internet than they normally would have been. So, good point.
It's not even that. Like, a lot more people have access to each other in an internet sense.
No,
that's the only access we have to each other.
But no, even beyond that, you've seen domestic violence rise. You've seen child abuse rise because families are stuck in the home. People aren't working. Yeah. So on that aspect, it does seem more real.
Yeah.
Well, with each passing year, if you look at our history, with each passing year, it looks more and more violent. It looks more and more angry and fearful and everything like that. And it's going to, because we have more and more people every year.
We have more and more people.
The more people you have,
I think
the more
part of
that's
that
going to
is
happen.
you have people that are out there rioting, like say pick a town somewhere in the Midwest. And they riot because of somebody and something that happened. And because everybody on the internet sees it, they're going to riot in their towns too.
Right.
Well, I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. I think it goes deeper to the cause that I believe there's something that's happening in this world that we're not too privy about. And they are trying to fight this darker government, if you will. And every time that they do, they pour more crap on us, take more things away from us. Even going into the stores nowadays. I mean, look, we still have transportation. We still have all that stuff. And people who are been at home and everything else. I mean, whether we go outside, where we do, we still use the same kind of products. We still use the same amount of things. But if you notice, they are being very selective. You go to the stores anymore, and some of the shelves are empty. They're not doing certain things. Certain things are not happening. So they're putting us in a situation, and they're preparing us for something, you know? And I look at it as going, okay, they want to take away these things so that it makes it harder for you and makes it more doing this way. Because when that happens, it allows, if you will, that evil to come up and do it. And when you're dealing with, like we do in the spiritual world and all the other things, I believe there's some stuff coming out of the ground because there is some nasty energy that's waking up the dead. This is a place of rest, you know, and they're supposed to be more at rest. But other things are creating turmoil, you know, okay. And I think if we really look at some of the things that we're not privy about, possibly with the portal usage and everything else that's been out there, CERN changing their idea of looking for the Big Bang to now looking at wormholes and everything else, that leaves a lot of opening for a lot of different things to be able to come through into this universe that we have not been are privy to.
You know, okay, so it goes down to the old thing where if you take a man or a woman's livelihood away from them, if you take the ability to support their families away from them, whether it financially or physically, then things are going to come up that would have never come up before. Anger is going to bubble that would have never bubbled before. Mm-hmm. And you are going to have issues that you never thought you would have. So when you take somebody, let's say upper middle class, and all of a sudden they're making the wage of poverty class. They're not used to this. They're not used to living like this, and it adds stress and anger just for the fact that they don't really know exactly what to do to get themselves back to where they need to.
How many people do we know that haven't been able to pay their mortgage?
A mortgage, electric bills,
Right.
phone bills. It doesn't matter what bill it is. It's the fact that you went from not having to worry about something and it not being part of your reality to being the only thing you think of because of the fact that it is now part of your reality. And if you've never had to struggle with it before, it's going to be a lot harder for you than somebody who has had to struggle with it before and figure out different ways to do things.
Yep.
Yeah, but their answer is to pay. They want to make a certain class so that everybody is making the same amount of money. That's what I kind of think. So they want to raise the lower end to the same amount of money. They want to raise the middle class to the same amount of money, and they want to do it all over the world. And I think that's bad. But I mean, when I'm sitting here at home and I go, all right. How was I affected by COVID? I've been in the house some more. Internet's maybe been a little slower. But at the same time, there are other things that are happening, and I'm going, hey, I'm struggling with being able to pay bills. I'm struggling with to do things. And I'm like going, how in the hell is that possible?
Yeah.
And you don't have an answer for that question. It's just like going, wow, and all of a sudden the food you eat, you're eating more stuff that's out there that is probably not healthy for you, everything else, because they're making that available for you. The more healthier foods and the other stuff that you're supposed to eat or look for are either price prohibited now. I mean, they've raised the price on all this stuff.
Well, not even just
they take it away.
They've limited how many canned products you can get. They've limited how many loaves of bread in some places. Not all. But
Right.
I went to
most.
I went to Walmart yesterday for a couple items, and I was amazed at how bare the shelves everywhere were in Walmart.
Yeah. I haven't seen it so much. I mean, the transportation is fine. They're still, moving
a
stuff
lot of that
back.
is the processing centers for certain foods or products are all shut down because of COVID.
Yeah.
Like for a while there, you couldn't buy any pork products anywhere because all the processing plants, all of them shut down.
Yeah.
There's farmers out there in the Midwest that are just plowing under their crops because they can't. All the restaurants are closed. And no one's buying the
absolutely. Food. Yeah, the agricultural industry was impacted hard. I mean, they were tilling produce in because they didn't have the workers to actually go out and get the produce out of the fields.
Well, not only that, but we've had some natural disasters too that are limiting certain food supplies.
Wildfires
in certain areas. I mean, we have wildfires. We had that weird wind wall thing in the Midwest that took out a huge number of crops. We've had a record hurricane season. I mean, when you add all these things together, it's going to have a little bit of a problem with the supply chain there.
Yeah, but I still go back to the thing is going, look, we've had weather modification systems since the mid-'60s.
Yeah.
There are so many things that people that have been social conditioned into a certain way that they don't bother and they don't fight anymore. They're not doing anything. The worst thing about it is, people do evil things, but the bad thing about it is the people who don't look and don't see and just say, oh, that's okay. Let's continue on my way, And they don't fight it. They don't answer anything about it. They just look at it and go, well, I'm going back home and I'm going to watch what they have on TV and I'm going to get spoon-fed to death. And that's what happens. And they are making it and they have they are changed the whole outlook of people in this world, of how we do things. And we talked a little bit earlier about how the media does things and everything else. So, I mean, and I'm looking for Halloween. I'd love Halloween to be a good thing. How many people do you think are going to come to your door and knock on your door and get candy from you this year?
None.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, we don't live in an area where they do that anyways.
Right. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I never have anyone at my place ever.
That's because they fell into the booby traps that you got.
You're in a bunker.
Yeah, no, but it's like I live in a major city, you know. Well, it's a small town, and I'm right on the main fairway, and there's houses all around and kids all around and everything else. And I can tell you already, that doorbell is not going to ring near what it has in the past.
I imagine not.
You know, like I'm seeing a lot of posts about how people are still going to take their kids out and everything, and this might be a negative attitude, but I'm waiting for November 1st. Those posts about how all those people who said that are now saying they're so disappointed because no one was putting out candy, and everyone should be ashamed of themselves. And if people are actually scared of this, don't expect it. Like, it's already been said that half the people out there aren't going to be participating.
Nope. I'd say less than. I'd say 20% of the normal people that go trick or treating, are going to do it. 20%. And that's probably high.
This is the first year we're not going, but we came up with a whole different plan that it sucks in some ways because it's going to be really expensive. But the kids will still have a good night.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, and that was the same thing with Easter. Everyone was very, very upset at Easter time.
We still had an Easter egg hunt. You just do it at home.
Yeah. There are ways to get around it, and there are ways for your kids to have a memory that might even be the best memory of that holiday that they have had. You just need to find different ways to do it.
People have lost creativity. Mm-hmm. You overcome and adapt. That's all there is to it. You don't cancel. Mm-hmm. You just overcome and adapt. You get creative. Your kids should still have a good time.
Right.
I got mad at our son last Monday because his sister had lent him a table to do his gaming on, and he got upset because she asked for it back. And I told him, me and Kayla gave him 4 different ideas of how to fix himself a table until we could get to a store to buy him one.
Right. Here's how you can make one.
So he could buy himself one. Mm-hmm. And he immediately gave up.
Oh, yeah.
That bothered me so much.
Yeah. Where's the compromise?
However,
figure
one
something
thing
out.
about that, though, was he might have given up in the beginning, but when it came down to it, he did go. And he found wood out in the woodshed, and he made himself a small table that would fit and work for what he was doing. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to take longer for people to get back into that way of thinking versus what they're used to. We're used to being able to go and do whatever we want, whenever we want, get whatever we want, whenever we want. People don't know how to make bread from scratch anymore. People don't know how to do these things because you haven't had to for so long.
Well, so in the very beginning of the pandemic, everybody ran out and bought toilet paper.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You go to the grocery stores, and there was still a full stock of flour, sugar,
peanuts,
yeast, peanuts, all your normal bake from scratch, cook from scratch stuff was fully stocked because everybody ran and got the toilet paper. Like, really?
Yeah.
We're stocking up on canned goods, flour, sugar, eggs. All the basic stuff we needed was readily prevalent.
I bought a lot of tobacco.
Yeah. Oh, we stocked up on tobacco and coffee.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know.
And powdered drink mix.
Yeah.
A lot of powdered drink mix, because I figure, you know, like, you can always go to the store, you can buy some orange juice or something for the kids. Cool. But what happens when it comes down to all you have left is water? If it ever came down to that, I'm not saying it's going to. But if it comes down to the fact that you have water left, every once in a while you gotta throw a bone in there. For a kid, you have to. Something sweet, something different, something...
Yep. So, yeah, I think common sense and I think creativity. You know, people are used to having stuff handed to them. And not have to make stuff.
Right there.
And, you know, I actually wouldn't go as far as saying people are used to having things handed to them, as we have made it so easy for somebody not to have to learn life skills that what's the point in learning them?
They don't teach them in
if they
school.
don't teach them anymore, if it's been generations now. So if I didn't grow up in the house that I grew up in, I wouldn't know how to make any of these things. Why? Because for the last 2 generations, nobody's had to.
Right.
Well, you know, and again, I think it's kind of because of the fact that they're trying to do away with most of our history, most of our past. Because if you don't teach that and you change all of that, I mean, look, in the 20s we had terrible ordeals, you know, with banking and everything else, and people were out of work everywhere, but other people helped other people and helped these things. And we did have flour, we did have sugar, we did work that, and the government started the WPA and the We Piddle Around group, you know,
right,
where they built highways and they did all this stuff to help other people out. Today, they are just saying, there are people here that just believe that, well, I'll sit here and I will get help and they will give me money and I'll just live off of them and they'll maintain us. And that ruins the idea. And then when the kids go to school or they're not going to school or whatever the programs that they want to teach, they don't talk about any of the things that we did when we were kids, or some of the things that because maybe some of them weren't the things that they consider to be wholesome nowadays, if they even consider wholesomeness in their ideas,
right?
And also the way that we farmed and people planted different crops and the way that they canned. And I mean, how many people do you hear about canning nowadays? You know, what's wrong with doing that?
Up here in our community, there is quite a few.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
So this year we planted a big. I wouldn't say
it was
a big
disaster
garden.
for the garden.
I would say a pretty good sized garden this year. I planted with the kids. It gave them something to do outside, and it showed them how to do it. But we had some really weird weather patterns this year.
Our gardens
were a disaster. And everybody up here had gardening issues. I mean, people that have done amazing and grown plants for years and years were having gardening issues because of the different changes in the weather that we had this year. We had rain forever.
Yeah.
And then it went from torrential downpours to 100 and something degrees, back to torrential downpours, back to 30 degrees, back up to 95. It was ridiculous.
And then you couldn't go outside because of wildfire smoke. You couldn't breathe.
Right.
So, I mean, we just had
here. Yeah. I mean, there you go. You're like looking at it and going, well, is this all part of, I mean, as much as you don't want to be a conspiracy theory and you want to find the truth and you want to look at things, but more you dig deeper and deeper, you start to find out that, hey, look, is this all a plan? I mean, because it didn't only happen out there, it happened in other areas. Planting a damn tomato around here was used to be everybody could plant a tomato. Heck, you'll be lucky to get a tomato nowadays. All of the last 3 or 4 years, it's hard to grow a tomato.
We had a ton of tomatoes,
but they came really late.
They came late, and most of them didn't turn red.
Yeah, we had to pluck them and actually window ripen.
It was weird, and the rest of the garden, our potatoes did great, and that was the first year we've done potatoes. Our potatoes did great. We're going to do more next year. But we have a greenhouse we need to get up, so we can actually start doing our own produce year round.
Right.
But I don't know,
Eric. It was so funny that you mentioned the tomatoes didn't ripen because that was. I mean, here I am in Kentucky. How many thousands of miles am I away from you? Mm-hmm. And the biggest part that I was going is, what do you got to do to get a tomato ripe? These babies were green all the way, and I'm talking even the cherry tomatoes. I mean, and you had to pick them all out, and you had to send them on us. And to be truthful with you, how do you think they tasted?
They did not taste right this year either. But they never do when you ripen them in the window. They don't. They just don't taste the same.
Nothing did, though.
No, nothing tasted the same. Because we had cucumbers that grew, and I also had a couple of zucchini, not regular zucchinis, but the yellow zucchinis that grew.
Yeah.
And none of them tasted quite right either. But the weird part, the really weird part for me is the one plant that died in my yard that it's unkillable for me. I've never killed a rhubarb plant before.
Really?
Not in this weather, not in Washington. We get enough rain and everything else that rhubarb is ridiculously easy to grow in Washington. And my rhubarb plant was doing great until I took it outside and I planted it. And it was thriving for a little bit, and then it just totally died.
Yeah. It's funny. Even this year, Halloween coming around, right? Mm-hmm. And we're talking about Halloween tonight, so I got to bring in the pumpkin. The great pumpkin is going to be in. But where I live, you used to see pumpkins everywhere. And right now, I don't know where in the heck the pumpkins are, but nobody's got them out anywhere.
Here we do, the pumpkin patch in Arlington. They got tons in their field. Holy crap!
Yeah, some of the bigger farms actually did okay. Ours didn't grow.
Well, send me some pumpkins, will you? I think you make some pretty good money down here. So maybe a little bit late, but we still got 2 weeks. So
well, because a lot of our fields rely mostly on people coming out. So I know a few of them closed just because with the social distancing rules we had, they didn't feel they could stay open.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of all together. It just doesn't feel right to me. It's like this was planned. I mean, especially when you get to the point where you're seeing the shelves are empty right now. I mean, it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's chalked up to 2020. I'm going to throw in a different question. Do you think cryptids who live in the woods, such as Bigfoot, notice a difference around Halloween?
Yeah, they stay away. They can smell the pumpkin spice, and it makes them gag.
Hey, we love pumpkin spice.
Yeah,
So with Bigfoot, I know there's question of whether they migrate because it's getting colder out. But do you think cryptids notice a change in the atmosphere? Not so much the weather, not so much the season, but do you think any of them notice Halloween?
Yeah, I truthfully, again, I'm going to go, yeah, I do think that they realize it. I think that they realize the energy change. I think that they're very sensitive to their surroundings, and they feel that energy that's up. Plus, you got to remember something also. When Halloween comes around, what else comes into the woods?
Hunting season.
You got it.
Well,
more people in the woods. With guns.
What's the worst thing that you want to be if you're a Bigfoot? Yeah, standing around outside. You're going to look for cover somewhere, because of the fact that you got every weird son of a gun now believes that they are the head hunter of the world.
Yeah, but, it would also have to be really weird. Like, okay, so if you went to an island and found, like, a tribe of people, right? And they looked one way all the time, and then all of a sudden, one day, they just completely changed everything about their culture. Just for that day. And then totally switched back the next day.
All of a sudden,
that's got to be really weird from an outsider's point of view.
But it doesn't. That's the thing. Because the thing is, with Halloween is the start of our holiday season, as it's known.
Right.
So about October 15th, I would say. But yeah, about the 15th.
You start seeing...
Everyone starts getting really excited.
Yeah, you
all the kids of the world, their energy changes.
And you start seeing skeletons in graveyards.
But the energy changes among the kids. It also changes among the adults. Mm-hmm. We're starting to get stressed already. Mm-hmm. The anger starts coming out little by little.
Because Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and then it's Christmas.
Yeah. So...
Right, exactly.
But those two energies themselves, the excitedness and the stressfulness, they become a lot more powerful.
Yep.
And I think
agree with that.
A lot of cryptids can sense that. Even being in the woods.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Good point. Very good point.
Well, and then you throw the Fae in there.
They don't celebrate Halloween, I don't think.
What are you talking
I've
about?
never had one come up to the door.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know if you had.
Oh.
You would have no idea if you
there was those few black-eyed children, but I didn't invite them in.
Yeah.
Black-eyed children.
Hey, do you think... Okay, so that's an awkward question. Do you think that a black-eyed child could put on a mask and gain entrance?
Woo.
Oh, what show was that?
I've heard several stories, or read several stories. In fact, I've seen a few shows about it, where all the cryptids, like going back to Eric's question about the Bigfoot knowing it's Halloween, where all the cryptids knew that on Halloween, the ghosts and the vampires and the mummies and all the other cryptids you could think of knew that they can get out and walk around in town and nobody would say anything. Because it's Halloween. Point. What a great costume.
Right? It reminds me of the person. They can go up to a door and get free candy.
I wonder how many of them win costume contests, those jerks.
Yeah, I can see it now. The old man at the door going, wow, that's a lifelike costume you got there, little boy. Mm-hmm. I mean,
what was that on?
Evil?
Yeah. What? Was that Netflix or Hulu?
That I don't remember.
What?
Friend, there is a show
Netflix
that you guys need to check out. It's called Evil, and it's fictional.
I've seen that.
You saw it?
Yeah, I saw the whole first season of it.
Yeah, so did we. I watched that. I was like, "What? This is cool."
Joe, do you remember the episode where the girls have a party on Halloween?
Yes.
The
show is just very interesting. I like your take on it.
Oh, I'm going to have to go watch it tonight.
It's awesome. But there is an episode where a young girl, or a spirit, embodies a little girl that couldn't make it to their party.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And it is just an awesome perception of that.
And they had something, instead of a Ouija board, they had a virtual reality game where they could put the goggles on. And it was like a horror thing. The spirits would show up in the virtual reality, but they were actually really there with them.
Right.
Yeah, my son has been asking
really odd.
for one of the Oculus Rifts.
Yeah, he has.
And I think watching that video game play out on air or on the TV, I think he's changed his mind maybe a little bit. Because that scared the hell out of him.
He's like, nope.
Huh. I'm going to go watch.
It's a cool show.
You should
check after the show, late night, watching Evil.
All right, and for our listeners, Dennis has posted, I believe, the Star Trek convention, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
TrekCon.
So you can go on youtube.com/C/the7th rule/vid. And you can check out the, and if you're in the chat room, obviously the link is right there, but it is for the Star Trek convention. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break for tonight.
Sweet.
And when we come back, we will carry on. I believe Kayla's got a question.
Ooh. I just asked one.
All right.
So stay tuned.
What will you do when disaster strikes? What is your plan? How will you stay safe? Join us each week as we help you answer these questions. On Upriver Counter Chaos. Only on KSVU 90.1 FM, your source for community radio.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
You break, you're going down. your host, Eric Cooper.
That didn't work. There we go.
And welcome back to S4. We are doing our Halloween roundtable tonight. It's been a fun first hour. And let me remind you, if you are in the chat room and you have a Halloween question, throw it in there. Or if you're listening in your local, just send me and you're not in the chat room, then just send me a message on Private Messenger, and I'll throw it into the roundtable.
And everyone just heard the promo for our new show, Upriver Counter Chaos. You can listen to that on ksvu.org.
Outstanding. Every Wednesday from 2 to 3. And Irma, our station manager for KSVU, is listening to the show tonight.
Hi, Irma.
Hey,
Hi, Irma. Thank you for listening.
Hey, Irma.
She's been awesome. She's an awesome station manager for KSVU.
Yeah, when all you guys swear, Joe, Barry,
Yeah.
she leaves that out.
She gets mad at us. She yells at us for cussing on the show.
This show, I don't think anyone's sworn on this one.
No.
We're doing good.
We're trying to watch it. We are trying to watch it.
Looks like I owe Irma a beer.
She doesn't drink. or do you? I don't think Irma drinks. So, Kayla, what's your first question tonight?
Alright, so everybody has some story related to some Halloween thing that happened to you. What is the weirdest thing that you've had happen on a Halloween?
Joe's going, darn it, that was one of my questions. Oh. Joe?
I had one, it was actually the day after Halloween. It was when I was living up in Washington, and there's a couple of people in the car, and we're driving down Ocean Shores Boulevard. It's the middle of nowhere. It's black. It's pitch black at night. It's probably 1 o'clock in the morning. We're driving along, and we could see somebody walking on the road up ahead of us. And we're probably doing maybe 45 through there. It's, just two-lane road. And just as we got to the person who was walking, the head turned around, like to look at us, but the body didn't turn. And it was the weirdest looking face, and we all drove by, and I just kept driving and driving. I'm sitting there thinking, did I see what I just see? And then everyone else in my truck started screaming, did you see that?
Right.
So we all saw it, and it was all weird. I don't know what it was. The face didn't look normal. It was almost like one of those things you see in a movie where the face is really white, and there's the dark circles with the eyes and a really strange mouth, but when we come up behind it, the head turned almost all the way around and looked at us as we drove by.
It was an alien. I won't say it was an alien, but it was an alien. Yeah. How tall was it?
It was just like a normal-sized person, like 5'6", 5'7". It just looked like a 20-something woman walking alongside the road.
Oh, that was the hitcher.
I don't
It might have been.
Definitely a hitcher.
Guess what? I didn't stop.
no joke. I wouldn't
don't
either. Somebody turning their head around like an owl at me. No thanks.
Yeah, like an owl. That's it.
Owl man.
Ew.
Yeah.
Okay, creepy. Stop it.
I think so this one isn't mine. It's Kayla's, actually.
Oh, jeez. Thanks.
Well, no, but you told me it was the weirdest Halloween thing you've ever had happen. And it was the fact that the first time when we first met, we took our roommates' kids trick-or-treating. Mm-hmm. And this was in my hometown, so I knew all the neighborhoods really well. And so I took them to the richest neighborhood in town. And every house we walked up to wouldn't let us leave without having a drink.
Oh, that was terrible.
Oh,
we
wow.
went to 10 houses and we were all sloshed. But by the second house, Kayla looked at me and said, how do you know all these people? They were all my parents' friends. But, like, it was normal.
Spirits.
And it's normal up there. You go to one house, you get hot chocolate with Kahlua. Like, it's just a normal
but I
thing.
tell you, that hangover was terrible because it was so many weird mixes.
It was
weird
great.
Stuff. It was bad.
I can't think of one. I honestly can't. Nothing. Well, to me, weird isn't weird. So I.
That's why I went with that one, because that's the weirdest thing we've ever experienced.
No, not me. The weirdest thing I've ever experienced on a Halloween was when I was a teenager. And me and my buddy, she was my best friend at the time, her name was Kiri. And we were going around in this little rural area that we lived in. And this completely naked chick came running out of the woods with, like, fake blood all over her, screaming. And, like, ran away. And we weren't sure whether to call the cops.
How do you know it was fake blood?
No, that's the point. As I was like terrified that this lady might have been like attacked or something.
And you called in 'cause you
and we're
thought it
like,
was
what do we do? But you know, at that time there was no cell phones or anything, so we went up to the next house and we went to knock on their door and ask them to use their phone because we just weren't sure. And this lady popped off from outside of a bush and just screamed in our face, started laughing really hard, and turned around and walked in the house and shut the door on us.
The same naked lady?
Same naked lady. Oh. I was like, oh, okay. All right, we're good. We're good.
Oh, God.
So I'm hoping that, like, I don't know, it wasn't just some crazy naked lady, like, breaking into people's houses or something.
Right.
But
Halloween's coming up. Do you have an address?
Okay, I can tell you one of the best ones that we've ever had.
Spider-Man?
So, our son is slightly autistic.
Oh, wait. So, Irma corrected me. It's the show is going to be from 3 to 4. And Joe, she does like dark beer.
I'm ready.
So, we went trick-or-treating in Marysville, Washington. And there was this one house that they had taken their entire yard and made a small maze for the kids to go through.
Right.
Our son, Hunter, refused to go in. Mm-hmm. All the other kids went through, and I had finally convinced Hunter that if I held his hand, we go through together. He was, 10 years old, maybe?
About 11, yeah, something like that.
And we're walking through, and as we're going through, I was explaining to him, and I started explaining to him about how each thing, like what it was and how they did it. And by the end, he was explaining them to me. And at the end, he went up, got his candy from the front of the house, and he was so excited. He went through this. He was so happy. And all of a sudden, the garage door opens up, and a guy runs out with a chainsaw. This guy chased him halfway down the street.
See, no, that's stupid because I'd throat punch him.
I wouldn't.
No.
I ain't running after him to throat punch him. I barely wanted to run after the kid. I was like, we'll catch up.
Well, the thing was, too, is this guy had one of those, like, really super creepy clown masks on and stuff, too. So he's just chasing after him. But, if you think about it, your typical 11, 12-year-old is going to look and be like, oh, scary. You know what I mean? But, oh, man, Hunter was terrified for a long time after that one.
I had quite a few years in a row that at my brother's house down in Southern California with his daughter and all that. And on Halloween, I'd get dressed up in some big, weird, baggy clothes that looked misshapen and stuff. So I'd look like a stuffed figure just laying over in the yard against the fence. And I had a hockey mask and a chainsaw. Of course, I had the blade off the chainsaw, or the saw part. And the kids would come up and you'd see them. They'd walk and they'd stop and they'd all look. And then I'd just reach over and just pull the handle on it, try to start it once or twice. They'd all run. And that went on for a couple of years. And one year I didn't do it. And all the kids that came up to the door, they go, "Where's Jason? Is Jason there this year?" No.
We sent him.
They were all disappointed that they didn't get shit scared out of them. Oh, shit, I was summon a beer now.
Yeah, we had one when we were kids where one of our neighbors, he was a cop. And he did his whole house up. He even had a coffin in the front yard. Like, he did an awesome job on his yard. And he used to put use latex glove and freeze hands, and he'd put them all over the light yard like they were coming out of it. And a couple kids came by, and they pulled off every finger except for the middle one. What they didn't realize is he's sitting in the coffin. So all he did was jump up and scream at them and say, "What are you doing?" And both kids, probably 13 years old. I think they were a year younger than me at that point. And they both peed themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and that sucks in a Canadian. Oh, my God. You would be frozen by the time you got home.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Well, they had to go home, change clothes, and then go back out again.
Some of for me personally, I've always worked at on Halloween night, either doing something paranormal or I was been acting in hall. We used to do a haunted tour of the hall. We'd put some characters in it and do some things. Wouldn't touch anybody or anything else, but just act like some of the things we had seen there with the spirits during times. And then we take a tour. They'd leave the house and they'd tour the cemeteries. We have 2 cemeteries there. And as they would tour back, and then they would walk to the barn where we had an actual haunted barn. And between the cemetery and the barns, it's funny because we would have all kinds of activity on Halloween night. Paranormal activity. In one Halloween night, it was so bad that they called the cops in. I mean, I had people that worked inside the house were coming out. We had one guy that was working down in the basement, and he actually stepped forward to scare somebody, and something grabbed him and pulled him back into the basement, and he's battling it. And I saw him walk. I used to be outside in the tent, and I'd start everything off and talk about the hall and tell the stories and some of the things that happened. And I see him walking up to me, and he's like, just like in a daze. So some of the people really suffered. But that one night, we had full body apparitions appearing in the crowds with people. And they would suddenly disappear, and people were crying out, "What happened to that guy? He was just here." Or something would run, and it would disappear as it ran away. So people got so scared, they called the cops out there. And we had all these cops show up, and we searched around for these people that were running. And I'm like going, "Look, it's not real people. They're spirit people. They're seeing full body apparitions. You know the history of this property, and most of the police and the sheriff's department will not come out there. They don't want to go into the house. They don't want to do anything." And we had them in there, and finally they decided, well, we had one group that had to go through the house, and they wouldn't go through the house without a police escort. They were so scared that they wouldn't go through that house without a police escort. And one of the police officers came by, and we have mannequins in the house. And he's walking through there, and he comes up to this mannequin, and it just freaked him out so bad, he pulls his weapon out. And I thought, great, here we go. We're going to have mass dead people everywhere.
That story just reminded me of something I did down in San Diego when I lived down there. I volunteered to haunt the Star of India. It was a haunted house they did every year, but the Star of India is this huge 1800 sailing ship that's parked in the harbor.
Ooh,
and it's supposed to be haunted. Yeah. I think they've done several shows over the years on the haunting of that place, but we did it on Halloween. They had makeup artists from Hollywood actually come in and did the makeup on people, and I got the job as a roving ghoul. So I wasn't sitting in one spot to scare people when they come by. I'd go out in the line out front and up and down and through all the decks of the ship. It was basically my job to just walk up out of the shadows and stand behind a group of people until one of them noticed me. And they would scream and run, and it was great, but there was parts of the ship that were off limits. And I went and did a little exploring, and like you never get a chance to do something like that. and parts of the ship where no one was, you could swear there was somebody in the room with you. You'd catch them out of the corner of your eye. Saw a door open that shouldn't have. I mean, when we tested the door, and it doesn't swing open; it actually swings shut. You hear footsteps, which maybe that could be from other parts of the ship. It's all wood, but
right.
That was a fantastic thing. I love doing that.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. That's why I mentioned it seemed like that veil gets thinner, because you see the most craziest things. We had a guy that came out one night. It was another Halloween experience, and his wife and him, and he brought a small child. And we always will not let the small. I mean, this was the baby, toddler type, baby. And I said, "Oh no, you're not taking that thing through there." And he sat outside in the gazebo. And his wife goes through the house, and while he's sitting out of the gazebo, I mean, before he went, he said, "Well, I don't believe in this stuff anyway. This is bull crap and everything else." And then all of a sudden, he has his come to life experience where he's out there in the gazebo, and the baby starts to reach for somebody. He's holding the baby on his lap. The baby starts to reach for somebody. He turns around, and there's a full-body apparition of a lady in white. And this man looks at her, and she bends over and gives him the finger wag, and then whispers to him, "No babies allowed." And then she disappears. He disappears. She disappears, and he runs over to where I'm at, and the executive director of Octagon Hall was standing there that night also. And he proceeds to tell us about this experience, and he is saying, "I know you have somebody out here in a white dress that's walking around." And I'm like going, "You're crazy. No, we don't have anybody like that." There's nobody in a white dress. There's nobody in there. She's been seen on the property a lot of times, but nobody here that's dressed like her. Absolutely not. We don't have anybody like that. And he started panicking. He was just, he was all by beside himself. I mean, it was just crazy. It's just the things that happen. And you don't see them all the time, but with the amount of people there and the things that were going on, Halloween has always just been full of activity.
So I've got a question for you, Barry. Is there anything in a paranormal investigation that you do differently on Halloween than you do during any other day paranormal investigation?
He does it naked.
Yes, exactly. Yes. No, I do that most of the time. My tell me, keep your pants on there. But
you wear clothes then. If you wear clothes on Halloween, that's it.
There are certain things that we don't do. I mean, there are. We will cut things off short if we start to see people getting a little bit wobbly or sick or whatever, because at that time we've found them very despondent, and seems like they're almost in a trance-like state, or possibly have an attachment coming towards them.
Okay.
And so when we're there, we don't do the normal things that we do. And a lot of people are going, "What happened to me?" And thank you for helping me and everything, because they just totally lose it. And
so you're
things
more
that happen during this kind of months.
So you're more situationally aware on Halloween during an investigation.
Yeah, you have to be. I mean, we're situated all the time anyway.
Right.
But there's certain things. I mean, when you start getting the Ghost Box Estes sessions, if you're trying to do the Estes method, and you're off somewhere and someone starts to really get, all of a sudden they just zone out. You've got to keep an eye on it, because you're opening spirit communication. Anything like a Ghost Box or anything like that, on that day. It's no different to me than using a Ouija board in a way. You're opening and inviting all the spirits to come in, and whatever is out there at that moment has more power, it seems like, and more energy from whatever is coming at that time to be able to affect people. And you just gotta watch what you're doing.
Okay, and that actually makes sense.
No,
because a lot of times it's not just us doing a hunt, because we're trying to bring paranormal experiences to people, because we're doing a novice hunt. We're there for a fundraiser, you know,
right.
And these people have not dealt with the paranormal. They haven't done that. And they want to have an experience, but it's funny, some people, when they do have the experience, we're there from 7 to 2 o'clock in the morning, and most of them will go, well, I've had enough. See you. It's been an hour now. Time to go home.
Right.
How often do people get a hold of you after they've gone through the Octagon House and told you, like, after they went there, weird things started happening at their home? Did that ever happen?
A lot. A lot. And, we heard, in fact, last year there was a lady there, and she came to tour the hall last week, and the first thing she said is, I took a spirit home from this house. I didn't have any activity or anything else, and this is her name, and she's been real weird, and it's affected. She's in our bedroom, but it's taken her a year to do it. And I said, were you communicating with her? And she said yes, and I was like going, first bad mistake. Because if you wouldn't have done anything and left it just be there, it'd get bored and come back home, you know?
Right.
But, when somebody talks to you or anything else and you've been dead for 150 years, believe me, you're going to hang around. At least I am.
Oh, yeah, because now you got our attention.
Have you had a higher number of, like, one demographic, like men or women, or is it about the same?
It's really funny. It's about the same. It depends on them. I know during the Halloween time, people would not be in the house very long. They're just touring the house as a quick tour. And it's funny, the spirits get a little angry. They would block off groups. The doors would slam between groups and pin them between a room. They would also, the people who were always like going, oh, that's fake, that's this, it didn't happen, this is I don't believe in this stuff. I can't tell you how many people came up and goes, look at this scratch I got, and I says, sorry, it happens. That's what happens. And it's because one time they were down in the winter kitchen and these people were just going, I don't believe in this crap, forget this. And all of a sudden this lady just goes, wow. She's the one who was saying it. And she says, oh, my back's on fire. And we pulled up her shirt a little bit, and there was 2 swipe marks on her back, made like an X around it. And her husband was like going, I don't believe that. And the next thing he knows, he gets a gigantic scratch on his neck. And they're out there going, I don't believe in this stuff. What the hell just happened? And I'm like going,
all right, who's up for a trip to Kentucky? I want to see this house.
that reminds me of the spirit I had in Germany. I had a ghost I named Fritz in my barracks.
Figures.
And he was cool. He was a German soldier. You got to figure we were actually on a prior German base, so it makes sense we'd have German soldier spirits.
Sure.
But him and I got along fine. And that was before, this is back in 91, 92. This would have been 92. And one of my cook buddies came in. We were getting ready to go out that night. And, I told him, so Mizli, I have a spirit in the room. He's not just in my room. He's all over the barracks. His name's Fritz. So Mizli sits on my bed while I'm getting ready to go. And he said, I don't believe in no ghost in my bed. So bear in mind, I've been in the same room for a year and a half. Never had any problems in my room before, and my bed collapses. And he's like, "Whoa, what the heck?" And I fixed my bed. I bounced on it a couple times to make sure it wasn't going to fall again. And the stupid kid says, "No, seriously, I don't believe in it. I don't believe spirits exist." And he sat down on my bed again, and it collapsed again. I'm like, dude, you're pissing him off.
Yeah.
That's Fritz. You got to respect him. He goes, and I never had a problem with my bunk after that. But you got to show respect to spirits. It's no. And Fritz never gave me any problem after that. But yeah, he showed this kid that didn't believe in spirits that you can believe what you want, but kaplunk. There you go. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. I had a guy one time come into the house, and I was it was just during the regular day, and I'm standing downstairs, and he's talking to me. When you come up through the porch, and you're on the main floor of the house, and you have an upstairs and a downstairs. And I tell them a little bit of things to look for and what's going on, and we send them on a tour by themselves, and so he is mouthing off about not believing in spirits, and this is all fake, and we've got it rigged. Right. And so he starts walking up the staircase, and I'm staying right where he is, and all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, you just pulled my pants leg." I said, "Hey man, I'm standing all the way over here. I mean, yeah, I might be 6'6", but I don't have arms reaches going to go that far." And I said, "You better be careful about what you're talking about, because they will let you know that they are here."
Oh, absolutely.
And he runs upstairs, and a door flies open on him, and then something else happens to him, and he comes running out. I'm in another room, and I hear this, and out the door, and I hear the door slam. And I'm like going, "What the heck just was that?" And I walked outside, and here this guy is running away to his car. And I'm like, hey. And he goes, and I says, "What the heck happened? What's wrong?" He says, "Get out of here. This place is haunted, And for a guy that doesn't believe he's haunted, he's leaving there going, "This place is haunted." Just, it's like going, "Yeah, well, I tried to tell you, but you don't believe me."
When me and my little brother were really young, we used to live in, this really awkward house that my grandfather built back in the early 60s. And we always thought that there was this old guy that lived in the shed. Like, there was this, it was almost like a guest house, but it was like a little shed that had tractors and different things like that in it. And we always used to go talk to the old guy that lived in the shed, and you think nothing about it. You're little kids, running around. And I don't know why, but something triggered that memory for me a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to my mom, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and then that old guy that used to live in the shed, and she's like, "There was never any old guy that lived in that shed. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Yeah, me and Alex used to hang out with him all the time." And she's like, "No, there's not been anybody living in that shed since your great-grandfather. And that was years before you were born." I'm like, "Oh, well, crap. Okay."
Yeah. That's when you should
kept your great-grandfather in the shed? That's just wrong, man.
Yeah, that would have been a good time to look for a picture of him. And let me go back for a second. Please, if you're in Kentucky, don't come Naughty and Hall disrespecting the spirits and expecting things to happen. It doesn't happen all the time. It's funny, sometimes spirits, I think they look at somebody and they say, "You remind me of somebody that I really hated in my life." and they torture the heck out of them while they're in there. I don't know if I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
I think it's right on the money what Eric says. You have to respect the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
When I was up in Washington, I worked the Shiloh Inn there in Ocean Shores. That place is haunted. Even though it was a brand new building, there used to be a hotel there before that. It was demolished.
Yeah.
But I worked maintenance, and there was times that I had to go in at night to fix things in the rooms. You know, they were unoccupied, and I could walk down on the first floor to the service elevator, and about 10, 15 feet before I got to the elevator doors, they would open.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no sensor or eye or anything. You had to push the button to get the doors to open.
Right.
And I'd always just walk in, and I'd always thank the ghost. I'd say, "Hey, thanks for opening the doors for me." And, you know, I never had a problem. But that probably happened, you know, maybe 30 times. I mean, it got to be a regular thing. I'd always just thank them. I'd say, "You let me off on the third floor," you know. Never had a problem with them, though.
They hit the button.
When I first started...
They would open the button. They would open it for me.
I used to work up in Bellingham, and I was a med tech for an Alzheimer's and dementia ward. And I worked overnight knock shifts. And there was so much stuff that happened while we were working there. Like, there would be emergency calls from rooms that had nobody in them.
Yeah.
There would be weird whispers in the elevators. Like, all kinds of just bizarre stuff happening there.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how it works. I mean, I carried up a ladder one time. I was going to put it away. And I was carrying it upstairs, and I got ready to open the closet door, and it felt like somebody tugged on the ladder. I went, wow, that was weird. So, and all of a sudden, I hear a disembodied voice go, "Get out." And I just turned around and I went, "I'm very sorry. I'm just putting away this ladder, and then I'm going to leave, and you can have your space back. I won't be up here anymore." And everything was cool. And it's how you communicate to a spirit or what they want to do. I mean, it's kind of weird. And even though I'm around her a lot, you know, when they want their private time, when they want something, they'll shut the door on you. They'll do whatever they need.
Oh,
to
absolutely.
do.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you ever have, like, electrical issues or anything like that you bring home with you? Like, do your lights...
yeah.
Yeah? No.
Yeah, and I have them from, it's really weird, I've got one right now with my truck from a UFO time. I got hit with real high, with an EMF burst, I believe, somehow. And it blew my CPU out and my EPU out into my truck. So now every time I stop the truck, if I don't unhook my battery, the negative cable on my battery, it will automatically not start. So if I unhook it and then get out and hook it back up again, it's true. And then it was really funny. I was talking to a guy that I had not known. It all happened at the same time, and I was in an area where he lives. And he was talking about how he has the same problem with his truck. And it happened right at the same time that this UFO was in that area. So I'm kind of like wondering, I wonder how many other people saw it that way. But I've always had odd things. I get told all the time, don't bring anything home. And, you know, they normally understand when we talk to them, say, get out of here or leave. And I do believe I have more on my property or around me than I do in my home because I've set boundaries up, you know. And when you do that, they respect those boundaries. But outside in that area, I can get out into my car and stand there and hear a disembodied voice go, "What are you doing?" You know.
So you bring up a good point too that I want to bring up. What do you think about UFO activity? Do you see a spike around October with UFOs?
No, it's usually a flat disc.
Yeah,
Flagship.
Yeah. In fact, last night I gotta tell you, and everybody's gonna think I'm crazy, and I'm sorry. I was coming home last night, and closed up the hall and everything else. Was about 15 to 2. I'm heading down 31W, and all of a sudden I see this weird light. I mean, just the brightest light you ever want to see. And I'm like going, wow, there's no airport around here. There's nothing like that. And I start going up this hill, and I'm like going, well, it's funny. This thing is going down as I'm going up this hill. And that kind of just stood there for a little bit. And it lets me drive right under it. And it has 2 gigantic white lights and a red light, and they're kind of oblong. And I'm looking up at it going, oh, please, it's not probing time. Just tell me it's not probing time. And I was waiting for a beamer, and it didn't come out of it. And I thought, I'm going to stop and get a picture of it. And I pulled off and opened my door, looked up, and by the time I got my cell phone out to take a picture of the dang thing, it just went poof, and it was gone.
So for anyone new listening tonight, Barry is the Kentucky MUFON director. So I like asking him about spikes and UFOs. From a MUFON perspective, do you see an increase in activity in the month of October?
Actually, it's funny. This year, we haven't. I do also UFO Hunters of America. And to be truthful with you, a lot of the reports, and I get a lot of personal reports too. People don't want to report to the national organizations, so they report to me. And I will tell you the truth. In the last few weeks, I've gotten some incredible photos since October has started, and people seeing them in Louisville, seeing them near a military base called the Bluegrass Army Depot, which is in Richmond and also in Winchester, Kentucky. Seeing them in the hill area that, over there by Hazard and Hazel Green, and I get reports every day and photos every day. This year, and it's been like going, wow, that's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. And the people will talk to me about it, but they, it's one of those things. I don't want anybody to know. I don't want people to know about this, because there's still that stigmatism about it, if you will, or that social conditioning that makes people go, people are going to think I'm nuts, but I'm the only one that, and I get to hear that every day when it's something you hear continually. Don't think I'm crazy, And
that's usually the first thing they say, and that's for anything paranormal, not just UFO, which really does baffle me, because this is technically the year that they actually did a disclosure. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. July they came out. I think it was July. This is the year the Pentagon came out and said we have an off-world vehicle. Mm-hmm. That you can't get any more disclosure than that, to be honest with you. But nobody seemed to, because nobody we're all in a we're in a pandemic. So the response was, okay, whatever, okay, put your mask on. But I mean, that's really.
It's crazy, and even the researchers are not following up on this stuff.
Nobody
is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like going, man, you snuck that in under a cloak of darkness. What the heck, And that is big news. And every once in a while, you pick up an article about it, or you see something about it that someone's talking about, but it's not getting things. And then that's when you start seeing the stuff from. And I'm sorry to say this, and I believe in conspiracies, but this is becoming kind of weird because YouTube, Facebook, all of this stuff is shooting this stuff down. And when you're like going, Facebook has determined that this is not a true story.
Right. They've got the new fact.
And I'm like going, who is their fact checker, and when did all of a sudden they start doing this? Because Does that mean the other ones that they are leaving on that know that they do not, or they take and they don't put that on there? Is that truth? And they're just shooting it off because I can't believe it. And it's really funny, you know, when you have almost 5,000 Facebook friends and you're followed by 600 people. And you put stuff out about certain things. I could put a nice rosy picture out there of a beautiful sky, and I'll get 100 hits and likes and everything else. And I put a thing about UFOs out there, and I get 3.
Right.
You know, I'm like,
Well,
going,
the
what?
other thing that I noticed about anybody who seems to be bringing up that the Pentagon came out with this is bringing it up in a joke.
Yeah.
So every time I've heard anything about it, it's been like, oh yeah, and aliens, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a very passing, and it's all humorous.
Yeah, it's you know, again, I chalk it up as 2020. It's just weird. And I gotta ask you, so has 2020, from a UFO perspective, been a breaking year on UFO reports?
I think that it is, but unfortunately, like I said, I think that a lot of the people are not reporting it to the major areas because of what's happening to it. And I'm afraid that from the abductees and the other people that are seeing these things, they're reporting them continually over their home. I've got a guy that has reported a thing over his home continually. Or close to them, and other people around the area have seen it also, and you're starting to go, okay, that's kind of odd because we didn't have those kind of reports before.
No,
and now you're seeing more of them, and other people are seeing them every night, you know. But there seems to be like other people just don't pay attention anymore, you know. It's really weird.
Now, is it that they're not paying attention or they're chalking it up to stress from everything else? Like,
I think it may be that too. I mean, I
like
think
sometimes when you see something in the corner of your eye, you don't automatically go to, oh my god, it was a shadow figure or something like that. You go, wow, man, I really need to sleep. I haven't. I must be stressing out. And with everything happening right now, people are stressed.
It's how people deal with the reality. You know, everybody creates their own reality. You know, if you hear a bump in the night, well, it's the house settling and all this stuff. If the house settles that often, your house is going to be 3 feet under the ground. You know, you got a foundation problem, but they don't think of it that way. They take their reality and they make it theirs, and that's safe for them. And that happens especially in the type of things that we go through, like in a year of 2020, and. If you listen to the abductees and the other people that we have counseled through this year and even the past years, if you think that, you know, it's my favorite saying this year is what happens at the end of 2020 when everybody's going, I'm looking for a really great 2021, and 2021 turns around and says, here, hold my beer.
Well, according to my son, everybody at 12:01 around the world needs to scream out Jumanji at the same time.
Okay.
And then everything will just go away.
Be all right.
Oh, yeah. And I don't even hold my breath for 2021. But
stop it.
I really don't.
Okay, but see, this is the thing, is that we as a civilization are hopeful. So if we tell ourselves, especially if we timeline it, so if we tell ourselves, you know what, this year was bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is going bad, but by this date, by this time, by this, that's what we do to reassure ourselves that there is something to look forward to.
Yeah, I believe I heard all 4 of us say that.
2019.
New Year's Eve 2020. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, this year is going to be amazing, man.
Yeah. This was the year of change.
Yeah.
Guess what? It changed.
Oh yeah.
We even got disclosure.
Just remember, Mad Max occurred in 2021.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay though. That was just in Australia, right?
We'll be ready for it.
Just in Australia.
Just in Australia. It's an island. We don't have to worry about it, you know.
Hey, wait, our Australian listeners might have something to say about that.
True.
Oh, probably. Probably. I know quite a few people over there that have something to say
They're
about
too
that.
busy welding their cars together.
Right? I would be.
Do you know what? They could use Vegemite to weld them together. Have you eaten that stuff after it's
Oh,
set?
whatever.
We need to get that.
There ain't nothing wrong.
I actually have a friend of mine sent me some, and I was supposed to give it to another individual. And I have got a tube up here on my desk.
Nice.
Oh,
Ooh, Vegemite tube.
we need to get that $155,000 car. What was
Use
it
it
that
to
one?
keep the spirits away.
Yeah, glue them to the floor.
So there's a $155,000 car out there that is bulletproof. It's got night vision, wind chill.
In order for those features to be on, it's $250,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
well,
it gets expensive.
but it's IED proof. It's got a smoke screen. That's a perfect 2021 car right there.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's perfect for the elite. I mean, Bear's not going to go out and buy one of those.
What do they give that best safety rating, consumer whatever rating for
Right.
2021?
Yeah.
For the Illuminati. The Illuminati say y'all need to have this, only if you're part of the Illuminati. But, yeah. I think it's time
Do you
for the
think that
Illuminati
they're
show.
really the Illuminati anymore? Okay, like, they've changed names so many times. It's all the same crap, but it's under... Now it's all corporate.
What?
The Illuminati, man. Okay, so they went from being like some secret organization, oh, we're the Illuminati.
To the Illuminati.org.
right?
Yeah.
And now you have all these like corporate entities, I guess you would call them, that
The
are
Bilderberg Group.
the
You don't hear much about
Rothschilds,
them
all
so
those
much.
fun people. And you're like,
What do you
huh.
actually know about the Illuminati?
The amazing thing about it is they've got people convinced, even though they're dirty as hell, people don't believe it because they're controlling everything. So people say they get with their media, they get whatever say they do, and they're going, "Oh, isn't this group fantastic?"
Raymond Reddington would speak otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. You
Watch
will be
Blacklist.
dead. Yeah.
You will learn everything. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you heard it or not, but while we were talking the last time, I had a low-flying helicopter come over the house again. And I was like going, So,
Start taking pictures.
yeah. Oh, you know what? I've taken so many pictures of black helicopters, I got bored doing it. It's like going, oh, not another black helicopter. Damn.
Oh, there's another one, right? Typical Tuesday.
So we have about 8 minutes left of the second hour. Joe, what's your next question? We'll go ahead and ask it, and if we need to carry it on, we will.
Well, my next question, it kind of goes in with the question you asked, Barry. Says, do you think it's possible that the aliens in the past have arrived on or near Halloween, like, say, in the Middle Ages, and that gave rise to the idea of goblins and other assorted critters in folklore? That there was some mass event maybe that time of year, and that's when everyone started saying there's creatures out on Halloween.
Hard to say, Joe. I gotta tell you that I think that through all the folklore and everything else, and through ancient alien theories and so forth, there are more discoveries that are being found that in this world right now, from satellite photos and everything else, that are baffling people. You know, as they're looking at some of the things that are out there, but I truly believe that there are activities that have been out there, and as I said, they increase in my opinion, personally, during this time, and they seem to be stronger and can affect and use their energy more to manifest other things. And one of the Celtic thing of shaman was a dance and fars and everything else to basically to run off ghosts and spirits. It wasn't involving the like celebrating them and talking to your ancestors and then everything else. And then, the Mexican holiday of
Day of the
Dead.
Yeah.
You know,
Dia de los Muertos.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, whether the church demonized Halloween or whatever, but they created, the Pope created, you have All Hallows Eve, which is the 31st. Then you have All Saints Day, November 1st. And then you have October 2nd is the Day of the Dead, right?
Yep.
And so you have all three of these things, and it seems like those energies are very strong where people are dealing and talking about paranormal activities. So I think that throughout history, it has always been at the same time. That it's always been that way, and I think that's what it is. Aliens are also very popular. They're a whole different thing, but I mean, look, they're using the same kind of energies. They're, in a lot of ways, interdimensional beings. So the energies that they use are also strengthened in the same way. So, yeah, that's very possible that it is. You know, in August in Kentucky in 1955, in Kelly, Kentucky, outside of Hopkinsville, that's when you have
the goblin species.
Goblins, you know, and you know, when people decide to start shooting up their house and from the inside aiming at these goblins that are crawling all over their house.
But I want to clarify something with that case. So that case, because you could look at that case just from us talking about it and think they were just goblins that came out, but that also had a landed UFO.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It definitely did. It was not the goblin case or the Kentucky goblins, as it said. You know,
didn't they report on that case also that when they shot at them, they would knock them over and then they would get back up and run off?
They would do somersaults.
Exactly.
They did somersaults and didn't get hit.
Right. You know,
but overall,
family had a nasty time about it, and you know, it's still celebrated to this day, and it's celebrated on August 20th or around that time. They have the Little Green Men Festival out that way, and it's really a special time.
Right. But I am going to add, though, goblins, elves, things of that nature, to me, in my opinion, are not alien. They're part of the Fey realm, which is not, again, alien. I think a big difference is a lot of those are energy and spiritually based when it comes down to it, whereas most of your alien races are technology based.
I agree with you 100%. 100%.
Yeah, but your average person 100 years or 200 years ago, they wouldn't know the difference between a goblin that's in the Fey realm and an alien that just got out of a ship. They wouldn't know the difference.
It also depends on what their spirituality was.
Right.
So seeing a light coming down from the sky, yeah, I agree. And, you know, 1,000 years ago, you stepped out of a cave with a lighter. Maybe not 1,000 years ago, but but you know, years.
What happened?
Around for a long time.
Right. Beginning of mankind. If you were to come out of a cave with a lighter before they invented fire, before the caveman invented fire, you'd be seen as a god. You'd be seen as maybe not an alien because they thought the sun was part of the alien, but. You know, you come out with a lighter before fire was invented, you'd be seen as a god.
Or you'd be crucified as a witch.
Make sure you pack a lighter.
Right.
It depends on the culture, though. Because okay, so some of them would see you as a god. Others of them would take that lighter and burn you at the stake because you're some kind of crazy demon or a witch or a evil entity of some form.
Right.
So I think that also has to do with what your cultural beliefs were.
Mm-hmm. And again, you look at European culture, for example, they've always been immersed in paranormal and ancient beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to, and you look at something like the Middle East, even the Quran talks about the Fae and aliens, and it depends on, I think culture does have... does play a big role in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, jinn are ancient.
Yep.
And jinn are the ones that can be or very bad, and it's up to them what they'd like to do to you. You know, and they're tricksters, and it's been that way. They've been written forever. There are ancient things that have happened, and even when you talk about the overseas there, and you look at England, and you look at all the property, how ancient it is and how old it is. We're not too sure that is America the same way, because how do we know what was here beforehand? We really don't. They tried to hide half of that stuff from us, and you've got to remember that when we find skeletons and we find large things and we find something that is unusual, they will close it off, close it down, and keep it from you. Because of the fact it doesn't set with their theories or with how they want it to go. So they're going to hide that from you.
Right. And with that, we are going to take our last break for the night. And when we come back, Cole has a question.
Yeah. By the way, Tim, sorry about that. I don't know why Kayla's trying to make you sick.
Because Kayla can't read, okay? And I read surfing and suffering. And I'm like, what? Okay. God.
All right. Stay tuned, folks.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Cooper.
And welcome back to S4 as we do our Halloween Roundtable tonight. And yeah, we blame it all on 2020. Anyway, Cole, what's your question tonight?
Barry's not back yet, and I want to wait for him.
What? Where's Barry at?
So
Barry.
talk about something.
Huh?
Barry's going to get
talk
some
about
coffee.
Okay, yeah, coffee's a necessity.
Coffee.
So,
What are we talking about?
is there any update on your Bigfoot activity, Joe?
Well, the update is okay. I had one Friday night, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting out here smoking a cigarette, and I hear a whistle.
Who are you whistling
It
at?
sounds like it's maybe 50 yards out into the woods, and it just goes. It's just a single whistle that kind of raised its tone. I heard that and I go, well, that sounds weird. It was nice and it sounded like a person doing it, but it was loud enough that it had to have been a pretty big guy that knew how to whistle. And I heard it a second time, and I imitated it, and it did it a third time, and then I just gave one sharp whistle back. Complete silence after that.
Huh.
And there was one wood narc about an hour ago when sitting here, but that could have been anything.
But, so...
I don't know, because maybe the fires or something, but there hasn't been much of anything in the woods. I mean, all the animals that are usually around aren't here. There's a couple of deer come up, but they're here every day. But other than that, nothing.
But it's
I don't
hunting.
know if they all...
With it being hunting season, do you get hunters up in your area or no?
Well, a lot of this is private property. Some people allow you to hunt on it, some of them don't. But, yeah, the hunting season, people up here like their guns and they like their meat. So
Right.
it does happen, but it's not like a shooting gallery.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure specifically the mountain areas around you, if they were huntable or not, as far as being national forest or private property, or how many people actually come up in your area.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a hunting mecca. I mean, people don't come from all over to be here.
Right.
It's just locals going out and taking what they can get and feeding family and things like that. It's not like all the, during the hunting season, all the guys show up in all the motels and hotels with their orange vests on, and no, we don't get that.
We do.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do.
It'd be cool if they knew how to shoot, though.
I did catch one guy. I was coming down my driveway one day, and I had to stop, and I looked, and there's this guy. This was like 10 years ago. And he's laying down off the road in the bushes with his bow, all covered in camouflage. He's got an orange hat on. I stopped the truck. I got him and said, "What the hell are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I'm just doing a little hunting, looking for a buck." I said, "Not in my land. Get the hell out of here." Said, "You want to hunt? I'll hunt one with you."
You back, Barry?
I'm back, sir. I am back.
There you are.
All right.
Cole's got his first question for tonight.
All right. Do you guys believe in the idea that aliens helped shape our world in ancient times, as in like Egypt and so like
The
we've all
ancient
seen
astronaut theory?
Yeah, we've all seen Ancient Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
We know the premise for the show.
Right.
And if you do,
I think yeah, there's enough evidence that, I mean, not everything that they claim is ancient aliens is ancient aliens.
but
But I
what
think
changed?
there's enough of it out there that people back then did see something that maybe just got them to thinking about things. And who knows, maybe they did help them out here and there. There are structures around the world that there's no way people could have built.
No.
But what I want to know is what changed.
There's stones that have been moved that we couldn't move them today.
You mean what changed as in...
Why don't they
Where
still
did they
use
go?
it?
So we have cultures out there that they actually came full out and introduced themselves to the culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what changed
Supposedly.
is look at how humanity has changed. They may not have been as barbaric. Our technology's changed.
Screw off. We're still good people.
No, okay, so weaponry. you know, you have governments that shoot first, ask questions later. They ain't going to come down to that. We invented the nuclear bomb. They ain't going to come down to that. They're going to observe from up there and laugh.
Kayla just sighed, so she's got something to say about that.
I don't think we were visited by ancient aliens. I don't think that we were at all. Honestly, my opinion on that is that we as human beings have cycled. So we get to a certain power, we get to a certain amount of technology, everything like that, and something catastrophic happens, just like the dinosaurs, takes us out, takes us back down to ground zero, and we rebuild again. I don't think that we were visited by any kind of form of alien life in ancient times any more than we are now. I think that our technology has done the cycle.
Well, that's talking about the civilization, but people were visited back then, probably just like they are now, probably.
Oh yeah. But I don't think it's
any more.
anymore.
People, you know, if your whole day was waking up in the morning, going down to the stream and getting some water and fighting off a saber-toothed tiger, all of a sudden you see something that shows up out of the sky, and it gets the people to thinking. Maybe it raises the intellect level just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so
you know,
I do think certain people were influenced. You look at Tesla, you look at Einstein, you look at some of the brighter minds that invented stuff that did influence technology changes. Were they possibly visited by another race? Potentially.
Well, didn't Tesla say that he would hear people talking to him and telling him these things and giving him ideas?
Oh, Tesla straight up said that he had alien contact and that they gave him the information to build his plans off of. Yes.
Right.
But,
died.
Yes.
Mysteriously.
Yeah.
But like I'm
and
saying,
it all started with him creating the ghost box. He was the first person to ever create a ghost box, a spirit box.
Right.
Something to talk to the spirits. And they started communicating to him out of this device he made. And it scared him so bad that he wiped that one off the table totally. And didn't even want to play with it. I mean, and you can still see it on the internet. People talk about here's the spirit box that Tesla made and how he did it and everything else. But, you know...
do you think there were spirits communicating with him, or do you think they were alien? Because we know aliens also have come through people's spirit boxes.
I think that it could be aliens. I also think that he had tapped into, I think there's some people that tap into the universal consciousness. Okay. That and the universal consciousness speaks to them. And gives them things, and they are. That's why we've always had double or two things, like why AC, DC, electricity all came at the same time.
Like the invention of the phone. Phone,
the same thing with the radio.
Yeah.
You know, always having more than one. I mean, I think it's given to a lot of people, but some people don't go all the way with it, and then there's always one or two that go all the way. And then there's this kind of like battle of who's going to be the one who's going to choose what, you know, and how it's going to be. But you know, when in Africa, the Dogon, what did they see creatures that came out as fish, and then in the ancient world there were, I forget what they were called. They had a name for them. It was pre-Sumerian, and these people were actually fish-like creatures that were like man and could walk on water and breathe on land and in water, and taught people and told them things, and they were that way. So, you know, I think the possibility, the ancient alien thing is something to look about, because there are structures and there are things here that I don't understand how it's possible. But there is also possible trainings and things that, you know, it's like the Baghdad battery when they found it. Right. You know, why in the heck is the pyramids not been, there's no smoke or flame marks in it from where people were writing on the walls, painting on it, and how did they see it? Well, if they had a battery, it's the same thing like if you had mechanical assist like they have in the military now. Mm-hmm. You know, and how they're taking it. You can do quite a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you could have been able to pick up a stone that was 2,000 pounds and use it with some kind of other things. Maybe aliens did help them. Maybe they had that technology. Who knows? But a lot of different things. It wakens you up. But I think that sure, I believe that. Just like Eric said, I mean, Einstein was even saying that he communicated with some source that got all of his, that brought some of the information.
Right, but that's what I was talking about, was the fact that I don't think they went anywhere. And I don't think that there's any more happening now than there was then. It's just the way that they perceive it. I don't think there's anything happening
right now. I'll agree with you on that.
I believe that certain people throughout history, throughout time, have been given certain information, and it might be alien in origin, it might be something else in origin, but yes, that this does exist, but I don't think there was any more contact back in the ancient times than we have any other time in history.
You know what I think, and I can understand your point, but as me dealing with abductees, and I know you guys dealt with abductees at one point,
yep.
Pretty heavy. And I do believe that if all the abductees got together, communication would be stronger. So some of these people are doing a speak where you get more people to start talking about their abductions and everything else. And I think they're teaching them because I've seen how their intelligence levels spike up. I mean, when you see someone who doesn't have a great education, could have a learning disability, and claims to be abducted and talks about magnetism to the point where it blows me away, or other people who have spent a lot of years in physics and everything else and gone through schools, and someone talks to them and they go, "Where'd you get a degree at?" And they go, "I don't have one."
But
there's things that are given to these people.
Here's where I stand with that, though. I've talked to hundreds of abductees, but what I glean from that is what they're being told isn't benefiting mankind. It's benefiting what the races are doing for themselves.
Some of them.
You look at the hybrid program, for example. That's not benefiting us. It's benefiting that race.
But we say that now. It could potentially be benefiting us. We just don't know it yet. So if there is some kind of a cataclysm, and the only people that end up living through whatever the cataclysm are the hybrids, because they've been genetically altered in some way to keep them from getting whatever this is, or getting this or that, then they are helping us. We just don't realize they are yet.
Well, let me put a thing in it. Suppose there are, let's look at it from the good and the bad side. Mm-hmm. Suppose that there is some kind of, the ones that I see that have changed. I mean, you've heard of this orange orb, or see these orange things. They seem to have a much better experience. It could be a rough experience, because they deal with so much MILABs, and they seem like they are followed more and have more interest throughout with the darker side of things, because it's like they don't buy everything else. They're stripped down of everything, and they are given a new thing. They seem to be the ones that are changing. And I think there's also ones that are doing DNA manipulation and other things to benefit them, but I would consider them more as the evil that is working for things, because I believe that there is a war between these aliens for Earth sometimes, and I think that good, when they come here, if you see a orange orb, chances are you're going to see helicopters or something else immediately after it, or else another type of UFO because they're reported, and it's like they drive them off. So, is there something like that going on? Possibly.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you hands down. There is a war going on between various races, and the planet Earth is caught in the crossfire, essentially.
Yes.
I've heard that from many different sources.
Could that possibly be why, like, if they actually did come down in ancient times and reveal themselves, could that possibly be why they don't? Is because they're not, like, the two sides are kind of fighting and we're caught in the middle, and for one of them to come down is a complete act of war, and they are, like...
Yeah, it's part of their treaty or some shit.
Could be.
Okay.
Could.
Or it could be that one came down and they said, "Hi, we're from somewhere else," and the humans killed them. Mm-hmm. So everyone says, "Don't do that."
Well,
Right.
you know, if you buy into the things that were in the 50s, and if you buy into the Eisenhower type discussions, there was two different types of beings that were communicating.
The Greada Treaty.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the one came down and says, well, we're going to give you enlightenment and spiritual uplifting. And the other ones came down and said, we'll give you this if you'll allow us to abduct so many of your people, and we'll tell you who we've abducted.
Right. Mm-hmm. And as I recall, it was the Nordics that came first. The Nordics were, okay, we'll give you healing and we'll give you spirituality. And they were told no. And then the Greys came and said, we'll give you technology and we'll give you some warfare.
Right.
In exchange, we will abduct so many hundreds or thousands of humans. And that's the treaty
for a year, and they broke that treaty. I mean, that treaty they didn't report it. You know,
that treaty expired, I think it was last year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but if you were to ask the average person back in the 1800s, let's go 1700s. You had to ask the average person back in the 1700s if they want to learn this new form of meditation and it will bring them spiritual enlightenment, or if they want something called Velcro that's going to do this, and it's going to make it so much easier for you to do all of these things. At that point, you're thinking in the short term, and you're thinking, well, the Velcro will help us now. So if we get that now, then we can build off of that. Where spiritual enlightenment may take years, it might not happen for certain people. It's a risk factor there, so you don't know. So most people think in the short term versus the long term. So they're going to take whatever it is that helps them the most at that point.
Well, just think,
humans don't want the spiritual enlightenment aliens. They want the give us better weapons aliens.
No, they want the Velcro.
That's what I'm saying. So anything that makes your life easier.
Here's the problem. We don't realize that possibly the spiritual enlightenment would have meant that we wouldn't need Velcro.
That's what I'm saying, is in the long term, that might have been a better idea, but people don't think in the long term. They don't think in the terms of 1,000 years being... They're not going to be around. That's not going to help them in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to take what will help me and my family right now.
Yeah.
Plus, you also have to remember the industrial complex. They're going to say, we're going to give you free energy. They're going to tell you, get away. I make all my money by cutting down trees and making paper and selling oil and gas and fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you. And those are the people that make the decisions for us. Face it, folks. I mean, we may sit around going, yeah, we have the right to be able to do this and everything else, but it's the perfect freedom, but are we actually free? No, we're not.
Well, you know, I remember back in, I believe, the 60s, they actually had a guy that came out with an engine that ran off water.
Oh, yeah, and
free energy.
It did run off of water, and you don't see that guy or...
Nope.
You didn't hear about him. I don't even know where he's at. If he's underneath some, he's probably with Hoffa somewhere. But you know, all that, or either that, or he sold it. and sold it to a company, and they buried it, and it's in someplace where they're using it, and we don't get the access to use it.
Nope.
It's a big warehouse next to the Ark of the Covenant.
Normal engine.
No joke, right?
Exactly. I agree with you 100%, Joe.
That's what the government's using in their underground facilities.
Water-based technology.
Because what?
No, there's 4 aliens on a treadmill running all the power.
that too. In Area 51.
Yeah.
Now, if we did have water-based fuel, okay, then wouldn't it make the concept of underwater bases that much more of a possibility?
Oh, look at the abyss.
What is hydrogen?
Right.
I think the abyss is one of my favorite underwater alien movies because just think of the possibility of Mariana Trench.
Yeah, no.
They're not going to show us all the pictures that come out of there.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. We go to the moon, but we don't know anything about what's right near us or what's under the water at all. And that, those parts of the planet, and we already know that there's been civilizations that have been found under the water that date back thousands of years, before us. And of course, if you buy the theory that there's been six worlds at this time, and they've been destroyed, or the world has been frozen, it has been covered with water, it's been covered with everything, and did everything get uncovered? Heck no. So there's a lot of stuff that's out there that they don't want us to know about.
Absolutely.
It's like going off of Alltech out in the Atlantic Ocean, and it drops off so deep. Why is there a cable running out that way? People reported that cable. Who put that cable out there? Where's that going?
We have. I don't think they're electrical lines. We have communication lines that run underneath the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're not running over the Mariana. They don't run through the
absolutely
Mariana
not.
Trench. Can you imagine how much? I mean, when you see a drop off like that, it's an abyss, and it goes down to the bottom where there's dark. I mean, how long is that cable going to be?
Yeah.
All
right, so moving on to Halloween, what do you think spirits think of man-made haunted houses?
You're
You
too
think-
scared to go in.
So do we know
I think
any?
they get a great laugh out of them because
Absolutely.
Yeah, it gives them the opportunity to. I mean, I would say that
every community has fundraisers where they put haunted houses together, and these actors come out with chainsaws, and they have ghouls. And can you imagine being a spirit going, "Really? Is that really how I think we look?"
Yeah, exactly. Well, how about if it's a great place for them to get ideas to do other things to humans?
Oh, that's Beetlejuice.
Okay, kids, we're sending you to school. We only do it in October.
Right? What do you think, Nicole?
I have heard a lot of stories where they take a perfectly normal house, no hauntings whatsoever, make it into a haunted house for Halloween, and all of a sudden, stuff starts happening.
That would be...
Could it be the emotion of the people screaming and being terrified that attracts them?
Maybe.
It's the energy that they
psychosomatic.
Or it's possible they brought an object in that was...
That's possible. A haunted object that they brought in, even so simple as a couch from Goodwill.
Yeah.
Right.
That was already haunted.
Yeah. Or
but they didn't know.
Topas?
Yep.
What about a topa? Actually, could it create itself from that kind of stress and energy? We talk about haunted homes, and we talk about some of the things that the energy that people have can create its own being, and we have the right to. Maybe it shows the way that we manifest things that we really don't know about. That allows them to be able to create from that emotion and from that ordeal, because there are such a thing as Topa. Look at Hat Man. Look at
Thin Man,
Slender Man. Slender Man. All that stuff. They didn't exist, and now people see them all the time.
It also could just be a random spirit that decided, hey, this looks like fun. Let's play.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Hey, let's spice this up a little bit. Let's throw that. Yeah. You guys are being too boring.
We used to tell the people that I think that the spirits like to. When we were doing the haunted tours, we had people in there. The worst person that were affected were the actors, because they were in there while people leave the house and they'd take a break and everything else, and weird things would happen to them.
Right.
Or they'd be grabbed or whatever. And the spirits do help out, I think, in certain ways. They look at it and go, hey, that was my opportunity. They don't know if it's them or this. So this is the opportunity.
You also got to think about the fact that, okay, when somebody gets dressed up for Halloween, right? Okay, they are finding great-grandma's dress and going, oh, hey, cool, and making it into a costume. Not everybody goes to Spirit of Halloween and picks out a brand new costume in a bag. Okay, most people will sit there and they'll find something that looks creepy at a thrift store.
Right.
Or they will find something that's been passed down in their family and they're like, oh, look at how gaudy and awesome this would be in this costume. Things like that. So if you have a whole bunch of people bringing out passed on people's heirlooms and different things like that all on the same night, all within contact of each other, wouldn't those...
I've seen some of the girls at the bar, and I can't imagine my grandma ever wearing what they did.
Okay.
The other thing about it is just take it as the people that make their own costumes and they all do their stuff. When you expel energy into something like that, and going back to the old Manitou, or the belief that a Manitou is energy within its own self, and it continues to live with that energy. So the people who put the energy into building it does not have its own energy and exists in its own way.
Right, and I get what you're saying, because, like, okay, so they say certain books, certain things, if you go off of, like, Warehouse 13 or the librarian's take on it, the amount of emotion and energy and everything else that went into writing a play or something like that could in itself create what they would call an artifact, or what we would call a possessed item, or an energy item, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it is possible that if you're pouring your heart and soul into something, whether it's a painting, whether it's it doesn't matter what it is. If you are putting all of your energy, your time, your effort, and everything that you are into that, then yes, it's going to have a life of its own. That's why we have paintings like the Mona Lisa that stick with us.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So, Barry, what's your second question tonight?
Well, I had about 5 of them, but everybody's thinking the same kind of questions, and I'm kind of like, on what side of the gun? But let's go to... let's talk about Day of the Dead and everything else. Do you believe that there is a time that you can use sugar skulls, soul food, what they call soul food, or a cake, a soul cake, and put an altar together for a family member and be able to communicate to them on that certain day?
Oh, it happens all the time. When you're looking at Samhain, for example, most of your pagans, this is the time they have the ancestral altar. And the ancestral altar consists of candles. It consists of photos of their passed on loved ones. And that is the best time to communicate with your passed on loved ones. Speaking from experience on that.
Yeah, is that? Do they give you guidance and counsel?
They can. It depends on what you ask them, and it depends on what they want to impart to you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, personally, you don't have to just do it on Samhain. Your loved ones can contact you anytime, not just Samhain. That's just the point of the year that most pagans will go out. It's also a time of divination, fire scrying, tarot readings, things of that nature.
All of that, and it was originally set up that supposedly, the way that I thought that some of the stuff is that those are those 3 days in that area are the days that the gates of heaven are open and the family members could come back. That was the belief.
Right.
That it was.
Could that be just part of the culture? I mean, like I said, the Dios de la Muerta, the Day of the Dead down in Mexico, it's not just the people that are here. They're saying, okay, on this day we're going to do this.
No.
But all the spirits are kind of trying to contract. They also had that same belief. So maybe as spirits, they believe that's when we can show up.
Yeah, but you also had it with Celtic. You had it in all types of different parts, not only in Mexico.
No,
and South
absolutely.
America. It was everywhere, and it all seems to be related to that day, to those days.
And it's specific to that. It's specific to that day, but you got to understand too. You can also look at the energy on the 1 to 2 days before and after the exact holiday.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be on that day.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. That's why I think it's a 3 day to 5 day period. And sometimes I think, like we mentioned earlier, that it starts in a little bit before October and goes through and builds through mid-November. And it ends in November.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, okay. So if you think about what November and October are, and think about the fact that it's harvesting season, think about the fact that this is going into the winter. So these are the months back in the day when you were getting everything. You were putting your energy, your soul into everything, trying to make sure that you made it through the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be the perfect time for you to contact your ancestors to let them help you make it through the hard times ahead. So everybody going into winter was storing food, was getting their harvest in, was getting everything ready, because this is the time when most people died, historically. This is the time that was the hardest for everybody. So to contact your ancestors at that time and get their push, their help, and their guidance on making it through the days ahead would have been huge.
You got to understand, too, the actual, and this is going to actually cross more into next week, but I will say this, trick-or-treating was essentially created by America.
True.
The form of trick-or-treating that they did in Celtic Ireland and Scotland was kids dressed up. But they were dressed up to scare away the spirits. And they weren't asking for candy or treats or tricks or treats. They were going and begging their neighbors.
Right.
They were asking
and that's how the soul cakes,
for help.
That's how the soul cakes came around.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they were asking for food and so forth like that to help them through the wintertime. And, it's funny, as I get older and as you look around, Kayla made an interesting comment there about this is the time when most people die. It is when it gets cold and everything else, and you get older, it's a fact that more people pass during this time.
Right.
Than any other time. And just look at the cemeteries. Go to the cemeteries and look around.
Look at the dates.
Exactly. Look at the dates. The ones that lived longer lives, you're going to see that most of them died in November,
Winter
December,
months. Yep.
January, February, and which is pretty odd when you really put it all together.
Yeah, but I think, again, with the soul cakes and with different things like this, I think it comes down to the same thing that anything comes down to, which is the energy and the thought that you put into it. So if you are making soul cakes and you're passing them out to kids and you're doing something for the fact that maybe these kids will make it through the winter based off of something that you're doing, well, then you are putting way more of your heart and your energy into whatever that item is that you are making. So if you are doing that for your ancestors, you are putting the power for them to come through into whatever you are making for them.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, you're
talking about the soul cakes. It reminded me of something, the Eaters of the Dead. I think it was Irish. Or when someone would die, they would put a meal out for them, like at the wake, and they would pay somebody to come in and eat that meal. And by eating that meal, they'd absorb the sins of the person that just died, and that way that person could go to heaven.
Right, and so
now, that's a weird tradition.
There is a tradition that many do on Samhain that's called the Dumb Supper. And it's called Dumb Supper because so you actually put out a meal for all of your passed on ancestors. Obviously, there's no speaking. That's why it's Dumb Supper. Dumb is inside.
You said it in total reverse. Some people used to call it the Devil's Supper because it was done in reverse. Everything is backwards.
Yeah.
You set the table in another way. You set it
right.
Everything is in reverse.
Well, why
in
do
the
you
Philippines,
think...
they actually pull out their ancestors out of their graves and
yeah.
They give them cigarettes and feed them food.
Right.
Now, why do you think?
And there's always been history of people feeding spirits. There are a lot of cultures that feed spirits and keep spirits. And their belief is that the spirit will work for them. Voodoo uses it a lot.
Well, most Americans do this on Christmas Eve. They leave a plate out with cookies and milk on it
for Santa Claus. To
come and eat. And
true.
And he does.
No, he totally does. But that's what I'm saying.
No, he definitely does.
Yeah.
No, because you got to give them the energy that they expel.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the thing, is that with him, you're feeding him so that he can make it to every house, and so that he has the energy to do it.
I just leave ever-ready batteries out.
You're going to leave a bunch of Baghdad batteries on here?
That works too.
Well, speaking of all the food, and it's Halloween, I have a question here that I was going to ask y'all, and we're getting near the end, and thought lighten it up a little bit. But
sure.
What do you consider the worst Halloween candy ever?
Oh, God.
For me, it's candy corn. Candy corn is definitely the worst. I think sometime back in the 30s, they made a huge batch of candy corn, and they passed it out at Halloween, and every year at the end of Halloween, they scoop it all up and send it back to the factory to get repackaged. Stuff is horrible.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. So those tart.
Sweet tarts?
Sweet tarts?
Oh, yeah. I hate sweet tarts.
I love sweet tarts.
Yeah.
I never liked the sweet tarts. I could deal with the candy corn, but it was always the weird stuff because you never got the eat it, and it is like wax. I don't know what the heck it is.
Which one?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, you go,
Candy
candy
corn.
corn. It's candy, and it's like corn. That's got to be good. And every year you get pulled, and you take a couple bites, you go, oh, my God, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember every year.
You know,
why.
and there's always the candy that's made like that. It's like, even through Easter, I hated those damn weird sugar bunnies or whatever they were.
Peeps.
Yeah,
that's
Peeps,
horrible
Peeps.
crap.
I was like going.
Peeps are horrible.
Yeah, they're pretty gross.
But I mean, they're everywhere.
That's Easter.
Just like candy corn, you see it everywhere. And it's like going, what in the heck is wrong? I mean,
my mom every year since I was a kid, like since they first came out, my mom has bought me and my brother Peeps, and they never get eaten. They sit there for years. I don't care.
Oh, Dennis in the chat room said marshmallow.
Marshmallow.
Yeah, marshmallow.
Anything marshmallow.
General Mills recently came out with Peeps cereal this Easter.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So I have a box sitting up on a shelf waiting for when my parents can come here and grab it to give to my brother.
I also hated to get Tootsie Rolls. I don't know what it was about Tootsie Roll. I just was like going, can you give me something different at Tootsie Roll? It seemed like everywhere I went, I had Tootsie Rolls. People gave Tootsie Rolls.
You know, I never liked them as kids. As a kid, but now I
and
do.
you mix it with wax.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what made it good.
So what I like about Halloween is they do it year round now, but they didn't used to. Is they have the grab bag of Tootsie Roll, and I like grabbing a couple bags of those mixed bags for my go bag.
Yeah,
it's quick energy.
Yeah, it gives you something quick to watch on.
My least favorite candy ever made, and I don't know why anybody made these, and I cannot remember what they are called, but they're like little wafer things that come in a long pack, and they taste like Pepto-Bismol mixed with like, God,
they fizz in your mouth.
Yeah, it's like, oh God, it's like eating Tums, but it's a candy and it's thinner.
Yeah, okay.
They
the
come
wafers?
they come in a wax paper roll.
Yeah, the wafers.
Oh God, whoever the hell invented
yeah.
those, they gotta be laughing somewhere. People still eating that crap.
Okay, what's your guys' favorite?
Snickers. Yep.
Jesus Christ, guys.
Yeah, I kind of, any kind of candy. Paydays I used to love for some damn reason. I love the Payday. Baby Ruths, and then malted milk balls. Man,
Dude,
malted
no,
milk balls.
not so much.
Okay.
Malted milk balls are my bad words.
Come on.
I do not appreciate chocolate. I would have to. I like gummies. Different types
you
of
can have them
gummies.
all. I don't like gummies either.
Dennis likes Kit Kats, but you know what, Dennis? Friend, you don't know who I would kill for a coffee crisp.
Is that Canadian?
It is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coffee crisps are pretty good. Oh God, crunchies. Canadian crunchy bars. Holy crap. Those are amazing. They're like seafoam, if you guys know what that is. Oh, it's delicious. It's like
so he's bothering
you. I never ate them when I was a kid, but I found out recently, I didn't like the name, the Heath Bar. And I found out recently that they taste like almond roca, and I get them every time I go to the store.
they do. I just ate a bunch of Heath bars actually last week.
Way to share.
Love
those.
Friend, yeah, that is the biggest disappointment for Halloween for me now. Living in the States is all the candy's changed because we have different candy in Canada, and I can't get any of it.
Well, you know, since we live right on the border, a lot of folks don't understand. Canada's got its own foods, it's a whole other. It is another country.
Oh, absolutely.
And because when you think of another country's candy, I think of Germany. Germany's got some awesome candy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does.
Whereas I forget because you live here and you're Canadian. You've got your own Canadian candy that we can't get here that you do crave.
And arrows.
Yeah.
Okay. But, you know...
You're getting hungry, aren't you?
I know, God. I love Canadian candy, man.
You know, it's like Australia. We were talking about. I mean, I love Tim Tams. I don't know what it is about Tim Tam, but man, those things are great. You soak them in coffee and suck them down. They're great.
And Dennis hates wagon wheels. What's wagon wheels?
Those are those little cookies with the marshmallow and the chocolate.
The graham cracker marshmallow inside of chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think
I can't remember what you guys
should
call
be
them here.
allowed to do anything.
Wafer cookies?
No, it's a huge cookie.
Yeah.
They're
they're
like that big around almost. And it's just
they got marshmallow inside.
Moon pies.
Moon pies would be.
Pie?
Yeah, kind of like a moon pie.
So they have moon pies more in the South. Alabama, you get moon pies at Mardi Gras.
You can get moon pies at the store.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have real thumbprint cookies somewhere. Just not in the States.
So we're coming close to the end of the show. So, Barry, where can we find Into the Fire?
You can find Into the Fire now on Parahouse TV network. We've gone from just talking on the radio. Now we're making a podcast out of it. It's every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Pacific, and 9 Eastern. And fun, and we hope that people come and see it. You can
Who's
find
your guest on Tuesday?
Night Stalkers. Dave Spakes from West Virginia, been on crypto shows and has done all kinds of different TV shows. I've worked with Dave several times, and looking to have a great show with Dave Spakes this week. So should be a fun show.
Rock on.
Nice.
Awesome. And don't forget, you can. We failed to mention this, but folks, we are on Saturday nights from 10 to 12 p.m. on KSVU.org. And those are pre-recorded shows.
And we are listed, though, on their schedule as FMP and Friends.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we do have a new show. Non-paranormal, obviously, but it is Upriver Counter Chaos. Heard on KSVU.org on Wednesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. And again, we sit here Wednesday nights and we pre-record those shows and get them to Irma, and they'll be heard every Wednesday. So with that, folks, stay tuned. Next week we will be talking all things Halloween symbolisms and things of that nature.
Spooky.
Next week with Barry and Joe. And hopefully Arnold wasn't feeling good tonight. So get to feeling good, Arnold. So with that, folks, stay safe this week. Stay dry if you're here local, because it is raining and we might have snow next week. Let's hope not. And remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.